Um, let's see. Oh goodness, people are showing up on Insight Timer. Hello, please say hello and where you're from. And be sure to let me know if you have any questions about the ayahuasca ceremony, about anything before, during, and after that. If you have questions about Costa Rica or being on a spiritual journey, or even what it's like to be traveling the world alone as a 58-year-old woman, any question that you have is absolutely okay. So as we're waiting for more people to join us, we will, I just want to kind of share with you real briefly what this journey of the soul is all about. And then I'm going to give you an overview, just all of the basics of the ayahuasca ceremony and why I chose to do it and what I experienced and what I learned from that. And then take any of your questions. And then whenever we're through with that part, we'll share a short spirit-led meditation and then go on with our day and get ready to watch the eclipse. So cool. So this is the new moon, and this moon cycle is called the pink moon. It has a lot of other different names. The sucker moon for a special sucker fish that one Indian tribe would use to sustain themselves through the last little bits of winter. But the pink moon is from a special flower that would bloom at this time of year, and it's pink, right? So it's totally beautiful. We'll have our next gathering on the full moon, which will be April 23rd. I'll decide the exact time, but I'm going to try to do it at the exact time that the moon is at its peak, which is around 8 o'clock Eastern time. And I'm going to try to do it somewhere outside where we can actually see it, because that's tons and tons of fun to do. This is our altar that that's Rachel, my my helper. She's over there helping. So these are basically the things that I bring with me all the time. So sort of my permanent altar, but I've also added a piece of ayahuasca, some beautiful sinks that I purchased, this in Costa Rica and this in Peru. These are the Druid tarot cards that I'm using here, well, I'm here in Canada, and some money from Peru and from Costa Rica to represent abundance. And this is a beautiful necklace made of sacred special stones that is a gift from my family. So my family is honored here. Chakra stones, shells that were collected on the beach on the way through Florida, on the way here, and one that was given to me by my best friend that I encountered on that journey. And then, of course, the cards that are traveling with me, and my Kuan Yin cards belong there as well. And then a candle that was donated by my hostess, Rachel. Right. So I'm working on a whole course on the beauty of ritual and how to design an altar and how to make any even mundane experience in your life into something special through the use of ritual and your intention and your attention. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you are here on Insight Timer, head over and have a look at the Happy and Free on Purpose Life course. That is free to you if you have a premium subscription on Insight Timer. And if you don't, there's so much value. There are thousands of courses, thousands of meditations, thousands of teachers, all for what you would pay for one single small course. So it's really an amazing investment in your spiritual life and your mental health and your harmony between mind, body, and spirit. All right, so my personal journey of the soul began in December of 2023 when I decided to sell my house, sell my car, find new homes for my pets, and then set out to discover the world, and specifically to discover how different cultures, different traditions, and different individuals choose to nurture and grow and expand their connection to spirit, and to explore the differences between religions and groups and individual spirituality, and to sort of delve into the ways that major religions came in and wiped out older religions, and how individuals within those, the pagans, the indigenous tribes of every country have managed to hold on to some of their own beliefs and their own traditions, and sometimes completely staying separate from the newness of Catholicism, Christianity. There's my balloons. Those are lovely. Muslim, Islam, the big religions that sort of kind of try to dominate all of the others. So some have been able to keep their old beliefs exclusively, while others have managed to keep some and blend with others. And some have just chosen to completely convert to the new ways of being, and how all of that really doesn't have anything to do with your spirituality. Spirituality is between you and your creator, God, the universe, spirit, whatever word you want to use in your heart of hearts to define the force that beats your heart. Spirit is everywhere. There's no place that spirit is not. And our only work is in choosing how we are accepting this love and abundance, how we are choosing to align with the God force that is within us, and to have this relationship with all that is, which is also us. So these are always very sort of ineffable things to describe. But if we are to communicate as human beings, we have to try. And so that is the overall overreaching message that I have discovered so far on this journey, is that the question is what's important. It's not about the answer. It's not about going out into the world with a question and finding one answer and then saying, oh, I have found the answer. This is what is true for everyone. Because that's never the case. Any message that I see and interpret through my perspective and my heart and my journey is going to be completely and totally different from the way that you interpret and embody the same exact message. So everything is about helping you to tune into your highest self and to find your own spiritual path. And all of this education, all of this learning and exploration, attending Temazcal ceremonies, attending the Ayahuasca ceremony, cacao ceremonies, participating in the procession on the streets of Pisac, Peru, celebrating Semana Santa and the different ways that they do that. All of this is about finding inspiration for my own spiritual journey and finding ways to share that information with you so that it inspires you on your spiritual journey. I'm never here to tell you this is the way, this is the right card deck, this is the way you sit, this is the way you breathe, this is the way you speak. You get to decide all of this for yourself in the way that feels most aligned and most connected to your source, right? Okay, so that's what the journey of the soul is all about. I started out in Tennessee and spent some time with my family, and then I spent a few weeks, a little over a month in Costa Rica, and I've just finished a journey around Peru. So if you go to my bio, you'll find my website link there, and there's a lot more pictures and stories and visual things that you can look at that will add to the information that we share here. So again, welcome. Do say hello. Let me know who you are, where you're from. I might be crossing through your country on my travels. My next destination is Ireland. And then after that, there's no way to know. So we'll be figuring that out. So when I arrived in Costa Rica, I already had in my mind that I was going to try an ayahuasca ceremony. This had been something that I'd been curious about from the first time that I heard about it, that the idea of opening your mind in a way that is not normal, your normal consciousness. So using this medicine to be able to see and hear and experience things in a completely different way than we do in everyday life. But of course, if you read about ayahuasca at all, you will see that throwing up, having diarrhea, sweating, crying. All of these uncomfortable things are expected in this ritual. And there was a part of me that very much shied away from that. I don't know anyone who likes vomiting or having diarrhea. So just that very first step of going, okay, you know what? That struggle, that hardship, that discomfort is a sacrifice I'm willing to make in order to discover what comes next, in order to be able to experience whatever is going to happen in this ceremony. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for saying hello. Happy to be here, connected to your energy, explore ceremony, ritual, and dance around the world with my family. How did you get the courage to live different? Oh, such a brilliant and amazing question, Nina. And I'm going to answer that as soon as I'm done with the overview and along with any other questions that come in. So I had made the decision that yes, whatever it takes, I'm going to do the ayahuasca ceremony. And this is when your experience begins. It doesn't begin at the beginning of the ceremony. It doesn't begin when you take the first drink of ayahuasca. It begins the moment that you decide that you're going to have this experience, whatever it is. And at this point, you can begin preparing yourself in your body, preparing yourself in your mind, and most importantly, allowing yourself to pay attention to the way the universe will line things up for you so that this experience happens in the way that is the absolute best for you. So that you're not going to want to just go, okay, I'm going to pick a place and go. I'm going to use my mind and my practical analytical skills and make a plan and execute it. It's going to be very beneficial for you if you can figure out a way to let yourself relax into paying attention to the signs and signals that will show up for you. So from this very moment, when I decided that my first stop would be in Costa Rica, and I looked for workaway opportunities, which is a way to volunteer and immerse yourself in a project or a family and defray the cost of travel by having your lodging and your food paid for. And so I looked for those things and they weren't really happening easily. So I just kind of found an Airbnb. And the name of the Airbnb was Magic Cacao House, Cacao Magic House. And all of that just resonated perfectly with me. I didn't know exactly where in the country it was. I didn't know any of the logistics about how I was going to get there. I just led with my heart and I chose this place. And it turned out to be the absolute perfect place because the man who owned it was from Israel. And he was very, very, very connected to the community. So he knew shamans who conducted ayahuasca ceremonies. He was a shaman who conducted cacao ceremonies. The community that he lives in, it's a tribe. It's a gathering of people from different countries, from Costa Rica, from all over the world, who've chosen to live in this community and have a Temazcal ceremony every month as part of the way that they are connecting with one another and to spirit. So just by choosing the Airbnb, the universe had laid out for me all of these options for all of the different experiences that I was seeking to have. So easy, without any effort on my part, just being open and going with instinct. Hello, Kuan. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm happy to have you here. I hope it's not your last time. No, it's your first time. Be sure to click the follow button so that you get a reminder for when we're having these events. But you can remember it easily because it's every new moon and every full moon, right? Okay, so this journey had already started to unfold perfectly, and I was talking with people who know about ayahuasca. I was talking with people who are actually the conductors of the ceremonies, and I didn't have to seek these people out. They just arrived in my life. And the perfect ceremony, the perfect people that were recommended by my host. I wouldn't want to put myself at the mercy of a shaman that wasn't recommended to me by someone that I knew and loved and trusted, right? It's not something that you just want to do a Google search and go and take your chances with any shaman. This is a deeply personal and intimate experience. And you want to be with someone that you know that you can trust. So the getting ready for the ceremony, preparing what to eat, figuring out how I was going to get there, all of those things just lined up perfectly without me having to do anything at all. And then I arrived at the little retreat center where the ceremony was to be held. And it was a 2-day or 2-night event, so that we arrived in the afternoon and just sort of hung around and ate some very light foods and, you know, meditated with each other a little bit and talked and played music. And I didn't know anyone there. I was by far the oldest person there. The closest, I'm 58, the closest to my age was probably about 40. I think the shaman was in his early 40s as well. So already there was this difference between myself and the other people from a human standpoint. And so this is something that you adapt to. You go, how do I react to the way that people see me, which may be different from the way that I see myself. I'm not a grandmother, so I don't see myself as a grandmother, but people who are meeting me for the first time, that's who I appear to them. So that all becomes a part of who you are seeing yourself as, what you are being, and how you are choosing to show up in the world, right? And then there's also a little ego intervention that's trying to happen there, that, I want to be offended that, oh, you think that I look old, you think that I'm elderly, you think that I'm all these things. That is totally an ego response. You know that it is, because it doesn't feel good. Your spirit responds in ways that are welcoming and accepting of who you are. All right, so hello, welcome, Lisa, for your first time. I'm so happy that you're here. Click the follow button so you can join me on the full moon. So it became time for the ceremony. The ceremony starts late at night, like 10 or 11 o'clock. And leading up to this, there's all sorts of rituals that happen. The very elaborate building of the altar that surrounds the fire. There's ritual involved in how you go to where the shaman is to accept your medicine. There's, places that you don't cross in front of. You don't divide the shaman from the fire at this certain point. So all of these little intricate things that you have the choice to allow yourself to be present, to allow yourself to do your best, to allow yourself to feel everything that is happening. Or you can slip into ego and worry that you're going to get something wrong, worry that you're going to be judged for not knowing what you're doing. Allow your insecurities and the feelings of newness to take over and remove you from being in the present and receiving the gifts for your spirit in this moment. So the ceremonial place, I happen to have the privilege, the gift of having the first night ceremony in one location and the second in another that were very different. The first night was an outside type of enclosure with only just like a very basic roof with a hole in the roof and a live fire that the altar was built around. And so we were right on dirt. Our mattresses were sitting right on the ground, and there were, very thin cloths for walking on and kneeling on and things like that. But for the most part, you're right on the earth, which was a very different and unique feeling, and very present in the fire, being able to watch the flames and all the things that were happening. So everyone was aware that this was my first time to have an ayahuasca experience. And there was also a feeling of being sort of solicitous towards me because I was a little bit older, and they wanted to make sure that that I was okay. These were wonderful, beautiful, loving people, which is also very important for any ceremony like this. You need to feel safe. You need to feel loved. You need to feel connected with the people who are participating with you. So, hi, Con. No, I'm not really new. I'm just sort of inconsistent about the way that I do my lives. I took a month off, but for now, I'll be here every new moon and every full moon. So I hope you'll be back. Okay, so for the first drink, there are 3 drinks that you do throughout the night. So the ceremony is designed to begin at about 10 or 11 and then end somewhere around when the sun comes up. But it's not structured. It's all very much felt into by the shaman and the people who were participating there. So since it was my first time, that my drink was smaller, just to sort of ease me in and make sure that I, didn't have any bad reactions or anything. We were all approaching this with caution and with care and with, paying great attention. And so I had the first drink and everything went great. I felt very sleepy because it was the middle of the night and I'm usually asleep very early. I felt a little bit woozy and a little bit sort of out of it, but not really. So I felt like I could have the second drink a regular dose. And so that's what I did. I had the second drink, the full dose, and then everything about this experience was very, very magical. The shaman was this beautiful singer, and the songs, the chants that he was doing, the music that he was producing were very otherworldly in an ancient language that none of us understood, but that he had spent many, many years studying and learning and connecting with. And there was a quality about his voice that was as if he were amplified 20 or 30 times. His voice was bigger than life. And he sang and chanted all night long. It was that was like a miracle in itself, that he never tired. His voice never flagged. He was just suffused with this magical energy and, conducting the ceremony throughout the whole night. So after the second serving of ayahuasca, I sort of slept for a little while. I did my best to stay as fully present as I could. And about halfway through whatever that time was, I don't know how long it was, I began to feel very much like I needed to go up this little path that led to this little outhouse, which is where we were, meant to use the restroom. There was a little basin beside us for throwing up. And I really needed to go and see what was happening. What if I needed to have diarrhea, if I needed to throw up, whatever needed to happen in my body, I really needed to go. But I was afraid. I was afraid that if I tried to go to the restroom on my own, that I would fall, that I would, fall into the fire, that I would trip over. I was just full of fear. I couldn't get myself to attempt going by myself. And this was when I had the first message from Spirit, which is the way that I always experience Spirit. Is just like a voice within me, like a knowing. And the voice said, ask for help. There are people here that will help you through this next phase. And I tried my best to get the courage to ask for assistance, and I couldn't do it. So for a long time, I sat there trying to find the courage to either go by myself or to ask for help, and I never was able to do it. And so the only choice that I had to escape my physical discomfort was to go to sleep. And so that's what I did. I went to sleep and I slept through the third serving. So my first evening in the ayahuasca ceremony was incomplete. But I had all of these messages. I had all of this learning and this knowledge. And I knew that this was a message for my whole life, not just for this exact experience, but that Spirit was telling me that if I'm unwilling and unable to be vulnerable, if I'm too afraid to make real connections with the people that I was meeting on this journey, that I would just remain as an observer, as a chronicler, as a documenter. I would never really be immersed and in the experiences that I was seeking out. And it takes another level, a special level of courage to be able to make these connections. And this is something that I needed. And it's not something that you can flip a switch. This is something that I knew that I would have to begin working on. And so when the ceremony was over for the ending and we were gathering after all of the rituals of the evening, part of the ritual is sharing our experience, sharing what we learned, sharing what our questions are, sharing our prayers and our intentions. And I was able to find the courage to share this, that I needed help and I was afraid to ask. I needed to go to the restroom to experience the next phase of this journey, and I was too afraid to do it. And just that step in admitting that fear and admitting that vulnerability opened up channels between myself and the other participants, opened up my heart, gave me extra courage to be able to share more openly and to allow people to see me more. So if everything had ended right then, this whole experience would have been completely worth it for this very lesson. Because now every day I pay attention, I look and see, are you keeping up walls between yourself and the people around you? Are you holding a part of yourself back in order to appear a certain way, to protect your ego, to protect your pride? Is there any of this that's going on that is standing between you and being fully immersed in these experiences? And so that day of being with these people, resting, eating, more, some purging, a lot of sweating, tears, that it was a really beautiful and amazing day. And by the second night, I was more prepared, and everyone was prepared. Everyone had said to me, please ask. There were 3 beautiful young women there whose job it was to help facilitate, to be there for the other participants if we needed anything at all. And when someone puts themselves in a position of service in that way, it's because they have a calling from their heart to help, to serve, to be in ministry to the people that are there. And me not asking for help was depriving them of the opportunity to fulfill their purpose. So we are not on this journey alone. We are on this journey together, all of us, part of the one. So as we went into the second night of the ceremony, the shaman and I agreed that we would approach this with courage and faith and commitment instead of caution and care and holding back. And so that this was just an agreement that was made among all of us, that I was going to be all in. Everybody was going to be there for me. I was going to accept their help. And so this second night was a very different experience. It would not be honest to say that I had this out-of-body experience that was so pleasant, that it really was not pleasant for me. I was very nauseous right from the beginning. I was very dizzy. I don't enjoy the feeling of being kind of out of my mind, but everything was okay because I'd started from this place of intention and trust and letting it be all right to be uncomfortable, letting it be all right to have whatever this experience brought to me. So through the first drink and the second drink, I was able to get up by myself and go to the restroom, even though my helpers were there to help me anyway. And so I got the chance to experience accepting that help. I got to experience the sensation of allowing myself to be vulnerable and allowing myself to be served and allowing myself to accept this love and assistance from these beautiful women. So after the second drink, I was considering not having the third drink because I was so sick and that I couldn't throw up. I couldn't do anything to feel any better. And when I made that suggestion in my mind that maybe I would just stop, I received my second big message from Spirit, which was that there's a great need to trust the process. There's a great need to see things all the way through. That when we claim the reward early, before we've done the work, before we've experienced the lesson, then we deprive ourselves of the fullness of that whole experience. And that applied to that exact situation in the ayahuasca ceremony, but it also applies to everything else. So if you are embarking on a long journey to get to somewhere that you really, really, really want to go, and you stop halfway because the journey's hard, then you miss out on the reward at the end. And when your path is difficult, when your path is challenging, and you reach where it is that you want to go, whatever it is, if it's a feeling, if it's a relationship, if it's a destination, if it's a goal, it's so much sweeter when you arrive there, when you know that you have maintained your integrity, maintained your grace through every step of the journey, no matter how hard it is, right? And then the final little message that is in there is that if you can find a way to be appreciative and enjoying and having a level of love for the journey itself, then it doesn't matter how long it takes to get to the destination. And think about how simple this is, what a simple lesson this is for anything in your life. If you have a financial goal and you find a way to love the journey on the way to that financial goal, you have already succeeded. So it doesn't matter if it takes you a day or a week or a month or a year or a decade. If you are in search of your soulmate, the person that you want to spend your life with, and you find a way to enjoy every person that you meet on that search, you find a way to enjoy every event along that path, then it doesn't matter how long it takes, right? It applies to everything. So I finished out the ceremony. I finally did throw up and felt much better and was able to be more present in the closing ceremonies, which were beautiful. We danced in a circle around the fire. We formed a circle dancing, and then each person danced in the center of the circle so that we got to make eye contact with one another, with each and every person there. And these connections just grew stronger and stronger. And the feeling of being so connected and a part of all that is grew stronger and stronger. And then finally, we all took parts of the altar, which were flowers and pieces of art and beautiful stones and just a beautifully decorated, elaborate altar. We all took parts of that and walked down to the river together and released those bits of organic matter into the river with more ceremony and more prayer and more connection. It was absolutely, completely, and totally beautiful, and an experience that I wouldn't trade anything for. So what are the questions that come up for you whenever you hear about this experience, the preparation for it, the things that happened in the actual ceremony, things that happened after? If there aren't specific questions, I'm going to go back and answer Nina's. Is it Nina or Nina? I'm going to answer her question about finding the courage to change the way that you are living your life. But this is what we're here for, is to discover what you're curious about, discover what questions are on your heart, so that I can use this journey and this experience to answer those for you. That when we're done with questions, we'll do our meditation, and then we'll go off and get ready to look at the eclipse. All right. So Nina, when I was talking earlier about the day that I made the decision that I was going to have the ayahuasca experience at some time in the future, something very, very similar happened when I was making this decision about heading off into the world. Now, I lived by myself for 10 years on the side of a mountain in a little cabin with only my fur babies, no neighbors to speak of. I would go to town twice a month sometimes. And I did a whole lot of deep spiritual inner work and growing and learning and figuring out how to be with myself during that time. But pretty early, and like the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023, the universe started sending me messages that this isn't where I belonged anymore, that this was something that I needed to be out in the world. And, one of those was that I had this corporate gig excuse me, that supported me and, allowed me to work on this other business from home. Everything was very easy. I didn't have to be in contact with anybody. And, my bills were getting paid. Well, so the universe took that away and presented me with a choice of finding another gig like that, or focusing on this business, the business of my heart, which needed some attention. It needed some growing. And so in order to supplement that, I was out driving for Uber, driving for Lyft. I edited a book for a friend. I did random things. I Airbnb'd my house. All of these little steps that put me in contact with other people just in order to survive. And, that got to be very hard. And it was taking time away from this work. And so little by little by little, it was like the universe was pushing me out the door. And until the day that I finally said, okay, you know what? It's time for me to be free of this house, this lifestyle, spending all of my time paying for the house, paying for the car, and not really having any time to live or explore or learn or grow my business in the way that I wanted to. And so the day that I made the decision was the day that the universe started lining things up for me, and everything happened perfectly. So, Nina, this is the first step, is for you to say, this is what we're going to do. You don't have to know how, you don't have to know where, you don't have to know anything except that what you know, that you want to travel with your family, you want to have different experiences, you want your children to be exposed to different cultures, you want them to see with their own eyes that there's so much more to this world than the community that they grew up in. So feel free to ask follow-up questions if you have them, but having the courage is very, very easy when you are just taking the next logical step. Like, okay, the next step is for me to put my house on the market. And you do that. And then the house sells very quickly, which is what happened to me. My house was on the market for one day and sold on its very first showing, and it closed within a month. Everything was very, very easy. When you are aligned with your purpose, when you're aligned with the things that the universe has in store for you, and you are open and aware and paying attention to the signs and signals that come along, and choosing your perspective and going, does this feel good to me? Because there are so many options. There's so many different ways you can go about doing anything that you want, and you cannot get this wrong. And if you take the time to feel your way into a decision, go, does this feel easy? Does this feel meant? Does this feel exciting? Let's take this next step. And then have the faith that when you've taken that step, the next step will appear, right? And so that is exactly how my journey unfolded. I sold my house, I sold my car, I found new homes very easily, beautiful, amazing, perfect, wonderful homes for my pets. This could have stopped me. If I had been unable to find a perfect, beautiful, better situation for my animals, I wouldn't have done it. I would never have said, oh, I'm sorry, I've got to go off to Costa Rica, so you're going to the shelter. It just wouldn't have happened. And so when the universe brought me the most beautiful cat mom in the world for my 3 cats that were remaining, it was just another message that this is where I'm meant to be. This is the path I'm meant to be traveling, right? So Nina's 36 and your partner's 38. Your boys are 4, 2, and 5 months. I promise you, in my travels, I have seen many, many, many young couples with small children having these beautiful world experiences. The family that I was connected with in Costa Rica, he is from Israel. She is half Israeli and half American. Their children are very small. They moved from Israel when their children were very small. Their children speak 3 languages at least: Hebrew, English, and Spanish fluently. They are brilliant. They're artistic. They play musical instruments. This is a beautiful and incredible and expansive way for children to grow up. So courage is about having faith that the things that are going to come to you are either going to be beautiful and amazing, or they're going to be very valuable experiences that help you to grow and expand. And if you know that everything is going to work out in the end exactly how it's supposed to be, then it's very easy to have courage and step into the next experience, expecting it to be amazing, expecting it to be wonderful, expecting that when you are stuck in an airport overnight and camping out on the floor, that you're going to find ways to have that be beautiful and expansive, and you're going to meet new people, and you're going to expose your children to this ability to be in grace and joy, no matter what the circumstances are outside of you. So you're empowering them to make and create their own joy and happiness instead of expecting the world to bring it to them. And I can't think of a more powerful lesson for a child to learn, that they are empowered to create their lives the way they want. I hope that was helpful, Nina, and I hope you will connect with me and share with me how this unfolds for you. And I know you're going to have an amazing time, and I will answer any question about anything I've learned about any country. And what I have found in my travels is that people are wonderful. People are loving and friendly and kind and amazing, and they want to help you. When you find yourself not knowing where you're going in an airport and you stop to ask someone, they'll help you. Costa Rica, Peru, Bogota, these were all beautiful places that I had wonderful experiences in, and Guatemala in a previous trip, in Thailand. Another big thing that I have discovered is that the further you go from the city, the easier life is, the freer it feels, the more friendly people are. And I haven't been everywhere in the world, so I can't say this is true in the entire world. But in my travels, the further you go from the city, the nicer things are. Now, does this mean that you won't land some places? At the Miami airport that I was in recently, I didn't find them to be kind and loving and helpful people there. There was a different vibe there, but that just served to make me appreciate even more the places that are just bathed in kindness and goodness, and to have the perspective that, 10 airports, one was unpleasant, right? That's a great ratio. If you're expecting that 9 out of 10 times everything's going to be amazing, then you're absolutely okay with the one time that comes along and it's not really all that much fun, right? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Anybody have anything else that they want to add or ask about, or anything at all before we go into our meditation? All right. Last chance. Okay. All right. So right before we turned on the cameras today, I was inspired to draw a wild Kuan Yin card, this is a pocket deck that got to come with me because it's very tiny, and because I love it very much, and because that doesn't need a book. The messages are on the other side. So the message for us for this new moon, I often like to have a fire ceremony on the new moon where we write down all the things that we would like to kind of leave behind us as we're entering into a new moon phase, and then to write down our intentions for the things that we want to grow, that we want to nurture, that we want to move in the direction of in the new moon cycle, and give those all to the fire. But we're doing this exploring all the places that we're going instead. So we're kind of skipping that, but it is a lot of fun to draw a card and let this kind of give us inspiration and guidance and ideas about the way that we might want to turn our attention and intention for this cycle. So this card is "The Harvest Mother Watches Over Me." The inner world offers powerful healing energy, creating space to receive it with love, patience, acceptance, and willingness to hear, feel, and honor all messages from our inner world with wisdom, allows this inner medicine to work its healing magic. Even if it seems fathomable at an intellectual level, the inner world knows how to restore and heal every aspect of the soul. We just need to invite and allow it. Right?